Good day everyone, this research is entitled Readiness on Online Learning and Student Engagement During COVID-19 Pandemic. Rationale of this study. The researchers conducted this study since online learning is altering the face of education. This study helps to gather information regarding the student engagement and readiness to online learning of the BEd students. Moreover, it is important to consider this research since through this, administrators, teachers, and students may promote strategies, programs, and advocacies. Commission on Higher Education officials. Results from this study will help the officials to strengthen the programs and improve the new paradigm in education by adopting new policies. Next is administrators. Results from this study will influence the administrators to hold seminars for teachers to encourage incorporation of student engagement and readiness as a component of online learning environment. Now next is teachers. The results of this study will offer teachers a new strategies and method in teaching, particularly in e-learning or online learning to the students. The result in this study will provide support that enables them to improve learning strategies and online learning efficacy. Now, for the future researchers, the findings and results in this study may aid in the concern of the level of students' engagement and online readiness and lead offer studies of similar background. Research objectives. This study aims to determine which domain of student engagement significantly influences the readiness in online learning during COVID-19 pandemic. Specifically, this seeks to answer the following problems. Number 1, which is the level of student engagement in terms of behavioral engagement, emotional engagement, and cognitive engagement. Number 2, what is the level of readiness in online learning during COVID-19 pandemic in terms of computer internet self-efficacy, self-directed learning, learning control, motivation for learning, and online communication self-efficacy. Now, number 3, is there a significant relationship between student engagement and readiness in online learning during COVID-19 pandemic of Bachelor of Elementary Education? Number 4, is there a domain of student engagement that significantly influences the readiness in online learning during the COVID-19 pandemic of Bachelor of Elementary Education? Theoretical framework. This study was anchored on the connectivism of Dawn and Siemens 2004, which is relatively new learning theory that suggests students should combine thoughts, theories, and general information in a useful manner. Moreover, connectivism posits that individuals learn from mediators including parents, instructors, peers, or even computer applications, Wirtz 2008. Moreover, student engagement defined as a meaningful way of learning and collaborating with others, and it can be increased by using technology to connect students, instructors, and the course content to facilitate academic success. Readiness had 2011. Social learning theory was also adopted in this study. Students with a high level of engagement understand the course content more successfully. According to social learning theory, student engagement is the integral element in emergence of desired learning outcome and motivation of students to learn. Bandora 1977. The theory self-efficacy, which anchored in this study, suggests that the belief of people in their own capabilities to exercise control over their own functioning and dealing with situations that has significantly effect in their lives. Exercising self-efficacy can give premise for motivation, well-being, and personal accomplishment. Bandora 1977. Now, the conceptual framework. This figure showed the research paradigm of this study. Independent variable in the first box. Readiness in online learning. Computer, internet self-efficacy, self-directed learning, learner control, motivation for learning, and online communication self-efficacy. Link to the second box. Dependent variable is student engagement, behavioral engagement, emotional engagement, and cognitive engagement. Method. Now the research design. The study was carried out through non-experimental quantitative research design using descriptive correlative method. Relatively, this is suitable for the study because the study objectives are to determine the significant relationship of readiness in online learning and student engagement. Next is research respondents. There were 120 respondents selected from the sectarian institution all-year level of Bachelor of Elementary Education who are enrolled in academic year 2021 to 2022. The researchers were utilized universal sampling to select respondents from the education courses because the number of population is also the number of sample. The research instrument. This study used to adapted and modified questionnaires. The readiness in online learning was adapted by the study of Reyes, Grajo, Comia, Talentino, Ibal, and Mendoza 2021, which is entitled Assessment of Filipino Higher Education Students' Readiness for E-Learning During a Pandemic, ERAS technique application. The student engagement survey questionnaires was adapted from the study of Delfino 2010, which is entitled Student Engagement and Academic Performance of a Student of Partido State University. Now, the data analysis. The following statistical tool was employed to analyze the data collected. Mean, standard deviation, percent product moment correlation coefficient, and the linear regression analysis.
Good day. My name is LORETO, and at this juncture, let's talk about results. Shown in Table 1 is the level of readiness in online learning during COVID-19 pandemic of Bachelor of Elementary Education that has overall mean of 3.96 and with a standard deviation of 0.41, which is interpreted as high and manifested oftentimes. The study of Yilmaz 2017 supports this result that online learning readiness is an individual's ability to use and utilize online learning resources and multimedia technology to improve the quality of learning. In similar manner, online learning has increased with higher education institutions investing considerable resources in electronic learning technologies. Deng and Tavares 2013. The data shows that motivation for learning has the highest mean score of 4.23 with a standard deviation of 0.56, which is interpreted as very high. This means that the level of motivation for learning of BEd students is always manifested. The study of Sokmaditana 2011 is proven in this finding that motivation functions as a means to activate and increase learners' activity. If the students have a good motivation, they will become more engaged and enthusiastic towards the studying process. In turn, this will allow them to achieve a much better outcome than those students who happens to have no motivation at all. Moreover, learner control has the lowest mean score of 3.82 with a standard deviation of 0.47 interpreted as high. This means this indicator under readiness in online learning is manifested at times. This finding verifies the study of Brown, Howardson, and Fisher 2016 that the students' control over learning in the online learning environment gives them the appropriate opportunity to take control in their own way of learning. Moreover, it helps them by choosing the learning process and procedures that is best suitable for their learning strategies and own preferences. Additionally, Hong and Yuan 2010 stated that online students can achieve a better performance if they are able to develop and apply their chosen learning preferences. Next, as indicated in Table 2, the level of student engagement during COVID-19 pandemic has an overall mean score of 3.83 with a standard deviation of 0.44, which is interpreted as high and manifested oftentimes. To support the results, substantial research shows that student engagement varies depending on the environment created by the schools and teachers and the learning opportunities teachers create in their classrooms. Nasser, Jones, and McLaughlin, 2011. This suggested that student engagement in this class is linked to their positive behavior and academic progress. Furthermore, student engagement is described as a student level of participation and inherent interest in education. This means that the learner's engagement refers to the participation in schoolwork as well as their behavior and attitudes. It is very evident in the data that the highest mean indicator of this dependent variable is cognitive engagement with a mean score of 3.93 with a standard deviation of 0.51, which is it is interpreted as high. This means that the cognitive engagement is manifested oftentimes of the BE-Ed students. This finding proves the study of Shern of 2013, which elaborates the dimension of cognitive engagement as the internal investment in learning, in which it involves different aspects such as willingness and thoughtfulness to expand the effort required to understand and master difficult tasks, the use of appropriate learning strategies like students' use of elaboration rather than memorization, challenge preference, and skills that are promoted their academic work. Meanwhile, emotional engagement has the lowest mean score of 3.69 with a standard deviation of 0.49 interpreted as high. This means that emotional engagement of BE-Ed students is manifested oftentimes. The findings supported the study of Regner and Batra 2015 that emotional engagement encompassed of student attitudes, students' feeling of belongingness, and values, particularly those are related to positive or negative emotional reactions towards faculty, staff, students, academics, or the institution. In other words, students who are emotionally engaged display curiosity, a desire to know more, and a positive emotional responses to learning. In addition, Jamaluddin and Zoraida 2014 exemplifies the relationship between emotions and learning, which they stated that less emotion means less learning and more emotion means more learning. With this, emotionally engaged learners are more responsible with one another and are motivated to complete learning tasks. Table 3 represents the test relationship between readiness in online learning and student engagement during COVID-19 pandemic of BE-Ed students has an overall R value of 0.743 and P value of 0.000, which is it is interpreted as high correlation. Since the p-value is below 0.05 level of significance, therefore the null hypothesis is rejected. Thus, there is a positive significant relationship between readiness in online learning and student engagement during COVID-19 pandemic of Bachelor of Elementary Education. This means that the level of readiness in online learning is directly proportional to the level of student engagement. To support the findings in correlation between variables, it is connected to the study of Kaimak and Horizon 2013 that readiness of students for online learning increased the interaction in learning environment or the decrease in readiness cause a decrease in interaction. This means that the readiness in online learning is effective when the students are engaging in the class. In addition to that, individual or institution should have the prior knowledge and effective characteristics, for instance, a motivation in order to experience an online learning in most effective way. Yerdugul and Deemer 2017. Presented in this table is the significance of the influence of readiness in online learning on student engagement during COVID-19 pandemic of Bachelor of Elementary Education shows that there is an overall p-value of 0.000 indicating that there is a significant influence of readiness in online learning in the student engagement of Bachelor of Elementary Education. The p-value is deriving from the 5 domains, namely computer, internet self-efficacy with 0.15, level of significance, self-directed learning with 0.001 level of significance, learner control with 0.345 level of significance, motivation for learning with 0.723 level of significance, and online communication self-efficacy with 0.921 level of significance. Thus, self-directed learning is the best domain that influences student engagement. Therefore, the results rejects the second null hypothesis of the study, which states that there is no domain readiness in online learning that significantly influenced the student engagement during COVID-19 pandemic of Bachelor of Elementary Education. Moreover, the table also revealed that readiness in online learning is only 59.3% that could influence the student engagement of BEd students, and the remaining 40.7% is not part of the current study. The result supports the recent study of Stockdale and Brockett 2011 that self-directed learners tend to be intrinsically motivated, and they are tend to respond to extrinsic motivation that incorporates free choices among learning options. Researchers have also noted that perceived self-efficacy is evident in learners who are self-directed. Moreover, as a self-directed learning refers to individuals' responsibility, however, self-directed learners usually more active, participate, and usually holds a high level of self-efficacy in learning tasks such as reading online material, completing classroom tasks, planning and evaluating milestones of learning. Kazan and Shopka 2014.
Good day everyone, I'm John Mark Mahinay and I'm discussing to you the conclusion and recommendation that we've come up in our study. So for the conclusion on objectives 1 and 2, the level of readiness in online learning of the Bachelor of Elementary Education is high. So this means that the readiness in online learning of the students under the Bachelor of Elementary Education is manifested oftentimes on the computer or internet self-efficacy, self-directed learning, learner control, motivation for learning, and online communication self-efficacy. Moreover, the level of student engagement during COVID-19 pandemic of the Bachelor of Elementary Education is also high, which means that the student engagement of the students is manifested oftentimes in the emotional engagement, behavioral engagement, and cognitive engagement. As the results have shown in the data analysis, the researchers used mean to come up with the average performance of the group of respondents and used standard deviation to quantify the amount of variation in the respondents. Therefore, the result revealed that there is a positive significant relationship between readiness in online learning and student engagement during COVID-19 pandemic of the Bachelor of Elementary Education. So therefore, null hypothesis is rejected. So for conclusion of the objectives 3 and 4, the significant relationship between readiness in online learning and student engagement was also determined using person-product moment correlation to determine that it shows that it has high correlation. So therefore, there is a significant relationship between readiness in online learning and student engagement during COVID-19 pandemic of Bachelor of Secondary Education students. Furthermore, to answer the last objective of the study, self-directed learning as one of the 5 domains under readiness and online learning significantly influenced student engagement of Bachelor of Elementary Education during COVID-19 pandemic. So for recommendation, based on the results and conclusion of this study, the following recommendations are done for the benefit of the study's beneficiaries. So as a result of Bachelor of Elementary Education students' high level of readiness in online learning and student engagement, administrators and education institutions may take measures to improve students' knowledge, such as multimedia technology to improve the quality of learning, and access to different activities that will provide learners with knowledge on how to effectively blend in student engagement. For teachers, they may be creative during class discussions and utilize e-learning, so they can improve computer and internet skills and PowerPoint presentations for class reports. For class reports can be conveniently accessible through online resources. And in terms of class activities, teachers may use audiovisual presentations and show visuals utilizing electronic materials to motivate students to learn. Furthermore, students participating in online learning studies can acquire ideas and learner control on their own. When there is a class discussion, respondents of this study equalize in knowledge development. So they may actively prepare, participate, and engage to have technical skills and readiness to learn online. Lastly, future researchers may use this study as a reference for their future studies and consider other indicators which are not included in this study to ensure a thorough understanding of the learning readiness in online learning and student engagement. This may also aid them in acquiring information that are relevant to their future research. So next are the references. These are the references that we use in our study.